What's up, God's chosen people? Today, I'd like to speak about the prodigal son, and many of us seem to think that the prodigal son, he went away and he sinned. It's like we lose sight of God, or we abandon God, or we disappoint Him when we sin. And it just so happens that Jesus says Himself that the only sin is to deny Him. The only sin is to deny Him, because the Holy Spirit will remind you that Jesus Christ crucified is enough. So it's like this prodigal son, and we would better understand it in our own lives, because sometimes we think to ourselves, but God, why have you abandoned me? And, have I done something wrong? And it's very important to understand that the only thing that you've done wrong is that you've forgotten that you are unconditionally loved, and you have forgotten that you're already forgiven. And because it's the absence of God that causes the problem and makes it worse. It's the presence of God that helps us. And we see the prodigal son, it's like he forgets that Jesus Christ crucified is enough. And he wanders off, just like many of us do. He goes into works, goes into sin, goes into this, goes into that. And he ends up with lack. But then, for some other reason, he changes his mind, and he says, maybe if I go back to my father's house at least, I could work there for him, or, even though he's upset with me. And the very same thing happens with us. And he accepts that Jesus Christ crucified. Let's just say that he accepts Jesus Christ crucified is enough in that moment. And while he's walking back, God is running towards him. God is running towards you. You haven't even got there yet. You haven't even said anything yet. And God comes to you, hugging you, kissing you, putting his robe around you. And he throws a feast for you. So much so that the person that is abiding by Moses' law 24/7 says to God, I've been abiding by your law all my life, and not once have you thrown a feast for me. And God tells him, it's good that we throw a feast, because your brother's come back. He's back with us. We should celebrate. And that's a good thing. But in this current generation that we're in, and part of the New Testament, I personally would say the best way to look at this, and it makes more sense to me, and Jesus says, you'll know the truth when you feel it. Judge my words by how it makes you feel, and if it makes you feel good, then it's from God, because all good things come from God. And if it makes you feel bad, then it's not from God. And because Jesus always made people feel good. And it's because he accepted that Jesus Christ crucified is enough. That's what made him return back to God. It's the only thing that made him return back to God, and God met him on the path before he even got there, just by that one acknowledgement that Jesus Christ crucified is enough. And the only way that he could distance himself from God was that Jesus Christ crucified wasn't enough, and that he could do it himself. I think it's very interesting that, if we just accept that Jesus Christ crucified is enough, you would be just like that prodigal son, and God meets you down the path. Because, personally, I've tried it before, and I've tried to be good, and how do you return to God? Do I start going back to church? Do I do this? Do I do that? I've tried many things. But nothing is as effective, or even close to as effective, as acknowledging to yourself that Jesus Christ crucified is enough. Try it out for yourself and know the only way that you can distance yourself from God is to say that Jesus Christ is not able to have died